Hello, this is Steven with MCNC's Vital Cybersecurity team, and today we will be reviewing the installation of the Crowdstrike agent on a Windows machine. Today we'll be going through both a GUI install and a command line install, which can be used for automated deployments. Before we begin, make sure you have access to your Crowdstrike web console and that you have a Windows device handy. Server or client, VM or physical, the process will be the same. Alright. If you have everything you need, let's get started. Go on, make sure you're logged into the console. Do note if anything looks slightly different on my screen, it's just because I've got full admin for all of our clients, and I might have a few more toggles exposed to me. But for where we're focusing on right now, we should all have access to. At first, we'll click the white falcon up here. So anytime we say white falcon, immediately go up to the upper left-hand corner of your web console. And then we're going to go over to the hosts column right here. And we're going to look for sensor downloads near the bottom. We'll click into sensor downloads. And this gives us a screen with all of the sensor downloads we need. You'll also see a quick 1, 2, 3 of how to install it. It's not quite that simple, but on Windows it's almost as simple as that. We will point out the CID string here. This is very important, and while mine's most likely going to be blurred out for security, this is essentially the string that will tie this install to your environment. So give this some pretty good protection. Don't, freely share it out. If you click that blue icon right there, you'll see I had a blue link of appear up here where it was copied to my clipboard, and that's just going to make it easier when we have to paste it in a moment. Next, you'll go and select your agent, and you'll click download over here. One of the interesting things to keep in mind is that this sensor does change pretty often. Crowdstrike releases minor updates every week or two. They release major updates every few weeks. But because we have update policies, once you install this, the agent will either upgrade or downgrade. Just depends on what the policy is. All you really need to do is about every 6 months come in here, grab the new agent, update your deployment package, update your gold image, you'll be set. Now, because I was a good little student and got some stuff set up ahead of time, we're going to jump over to Hyper-V, where I have these VMs up and running. I'm going to go into my GUI install VM, because that's what we're installing currently. Click my user, log in. So, some way, somehow, you're going to get the agent onto your machine. If it's local, simple enough. If it's a VM, copy it across, whichever way you choose. Installing it's as simple as double-clicking the install. Click yes, as you obviously have to have administrator rights to do this. You're going to accept the terms, and then you'll just be able to paste in your CID. Now, once this is done, the installation token isn't needed. If you're in a very high-touch environment where you believe you need additional security, we can explore that option as we do your onboarding, and you'll click Install. Now, the host name and other information will be gathered from this computer, so we'll just open up Command Prompt, and we'll just run the host name command. And we'll see that the host name for this device is going to be swalton GUI install. What do we do with this? Well, we're going to go back to our sensor download page here in the browser. We're going to go to the white falcon. Again, that's in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to go over to the hosts column again, and then we're going to go over to host management. This install normally only takes a few minutes to complete, and we can see that swalton GUI is already here. This little pop-up for the full name generally occurs with Chrome. If it doesn't occur in Firefox or Edge or something else, just know that I am using Chrome here. Important things to keep in mind when we see the item populated in here is the first seen date. So again, this is seen just now, gives you a hint of when I'm recording this. And we can also see our policies and our sensor version. Remember, you can always come over here to change some of these toggles. So for example, we won't need group tagging. Sensor version's good. We're not going to be messing with containment status. Nor will we be worrying about OU. So this page isn't going to refresh automatically, but let's go back to our Windows device and see how the install is progressing. Over here we see we have less than a minute, and by miracle of movie magic, whoever is doing post-processing here is going to skip us forward a bit. Okay, hopefully that didn't take too long. It should have been about 4:34 or 4:35 when we paused, and now we're back here at 4:36. We have Crowdstrike Falcon successfully being installed. We'll close that. We'll come back to our hosts management screen, and we'll see that previously we had prevention policies were, pretty blank, nothing there, and now we're starting to see where our prevention policies are being applied. Do keep in mind that when the agent's installed, it has a very minimal base set policy, just enough to get up and running check-in with the cloud, and then it'll download whatever the cloud's enforced it via groups or the other mechanisms that we'll explain in later videos. Also, keep in mind that the sensor version may or may not change. I'm on the update_QA group right now, which means that's not going to change. As you refresh this, as you do more installs, this should update pretty real time. As you can see, we started the install just a few minutes ago, and now the prevention policy, response policy are good. So that's going to wrap it up for what we need to worry with when we do a GUI install. Thank you. So we're going to assume that you have an account to log in, that you are logged in sitting on your activity overview page, and that you have your Windows device ready to go. So we're going to start off by clicking the white falcon, as we always do. We'll come over here to the hosts column, click on sensor downloads. Then from within here, we'll see our Windows installer. We'll go ahead and we'll click download. So I've already got this downloaded and placed on my VM, but while we're here, I will point out the deployment guides because this is what we'll be referencing. You can also always access this documentation by coming up here to the quotation mark. We'll click on the Falcon sensor for Windows since that's what we're installing to. And of course there's a lot of information here, requirements, checks, etc. What we care about is the automatic installation, and this string right here. So this is what we're going to use. I'm going to jump over to my CLI install machine. Going to run hostname so that we can see that this is in fact the CLI install VM. And because I want to avoid typos, also avoid product experts, I have my notepad document here with the command already keyed in. So basically, we're still going to call the Windows sensor. We're going to install it with quiet, no restart. We provide the CID. Click copy. Jump over here. Drop it in. Hit enter. Quiet install. Nothing's going to happen. No restart. Nothing's going to happen. How do we know that something's happened? If you've watched the GUI video, you know where I'm headed. We'll go back to our Falcon web console. We'll click the white falcon over here. We're going to go to host management. Now again, this install generally takes around 5 minutes, give or take. We can see that we've already populated the host name in here. Again, columns that we care about are last seen, and first seen's always good. That's the one that we're going to focus on right now because we've just installed this one. As you're installing these, do check in here. This will let you know if it's installed or not. The policy over here, currently no policy because it's a blank install, but again, if you reference the GUI video, it'll update over time. So again, movie magic. I'm going to pause for a moment. Be back when this is populated. So what we're looking at here is swalton CLI install is here. We'll mouse over again. We see the first scene. And then we can start seeing where changes are pending for the baseline. So this indicates that the install was successful, that it's going and reaching out, that it's grabbing policy, that it's pulling it down. That's what we like to see. Going back over here, you ask, okay, well, how do we know it's installed? Well, Crowdstrike's not going to have an icon in the bottom right, so no tray icon. One will be coming. That will be a policy we can toggle on or off if you really wish to have one there, but do note that it'll be purely cosmetic. You won't be able to interact with it. If we want to see that it's running locally on the machine, there's commands we can run, but I do like to highlight the rather low system resources that the machine uses. So this is on a VM, I'm aware of that, but we're still sitting at 0% CPU usage, so no worries. It is running, we have the sensor service, so that's how you know we've got it running. We'll just come back over here, we'll give this one more refresh. And we can see that most of our prevention policy, response policy is good. The sensor update policy is going to be the one that lags behind a bit, but that's fine because policies update QA. That's where we are. All of these older machines that were installed February 3rd, January 4th, all of those are maintaining updated policies or updated sensors per their policy. So hopefully that's easy enough. Whether you're running that command via SCCM or any other type of solution, it's pretty much going to be the same. So long as the agent can see it and you can pass that command to it, you should be good to go. Thank you. Okay, GUI install and command line install knocked out of the park. Now we start on to the extra credit section of things where we dig into that documentation I showed during the command line install. Again, assuming that you're already logged in, we're going to, regardless of which screen you're on, come to the upper right here, and I guess these are quotation marks. We'll click here, go into the docs section. And then, amongst everything in here, we're caring about sensor deployment, and we care about the Falcon sensor on Windows. Do recommend looking through all of the documentation to understand at least that it exists, how to navigate it, but when we're looking at Windows, a couple of things to keep in mind. Obviously, MCNC manages the policy. We're here to support you however possible, but you know your environment better than anyone else. Check here, this will tell you which versions of Windows are supported, goes down to the version and the build. The short of it is, if Microsoft supports it, Crowdstrike supports it. If we look towards Server 2008 R2, or even Windows 7 though, you do have some extended support going on till July 9th, 2023 for Windows 7, Windows Server 2008 R2. However, do talk to MCNC about that because there are a few additional forms that need to be filled out, and we have to discuss whether or not you have extended support via Microsoft, whether or not you're installing those updates. That's a whole separate discussion to have. We also have the short list of unsupported Windows versions. Again, preview builds aren't going to be supported. Pretty much if it's a formal, officially supported build of Windows, it's going to be supported. Familiarize yourself with the sidebar over here because this gives you good information, such as, certificate requirements. The biggest one's going to be network requirements. So you need to be able to speak TLS 1.2 outbound. If you're doing any type of TLS interception or man-in-the-middle type stuff, then you may need to permit list these two URLs just to make sure that you're not interfering with that traffic. Otherwise, as long as you can talk 443 outbound to the cloud, the agent will be able to check in. It has its own certificates. That traffic's going to be encrypted, and it'll always stay, current per the policy. Again, standard installation is important because this shows you the manual and automatic steps we walk through, as well as different advanced options. So do keep in mind as we go through this, we have different ways to perform, command line uninstalls, installs, even the application of tokens. So if you want to get pretty refined with your install process, you can give tokens, such as tokens to move a group into a final state policy or a mid-state policy, which we'll touch on later on. And, you just get a couple bit more guides here. So if we're looking at a virtual environment, if you have VDIs, it's important to keep this in mind because when the agent installs, it creates a hash. So while you may see the host name inside the web console, on the back end, it's just a one-time hash of what that device is. And if you have a VDI that is non-persistent and it keeps coming up, you may see multiple entries of the same host name, even though to CrowdStrike, those are distinct images. If you look at a gold image, we have additional work to be done there, such as the no start. Essentially, you want the Crowdstrike VM to be the last installed thing on this box. You'll key it in with the no start, you'll mint that gold image, and then every time it boots up, it should be a fresh device, fresh host name, everything like that. And again, if you have any questions for this, let us know. If you get to the point where you need to uninstall, we have guidance here. We have troubleshooting on installation errors. If that's not sufficient, again, you can contact us. So hopefully, even past, reviewing your appendix to get a little bit more information for proxy installation and even a little bit of overview onto more advanced topics, we'll be always happy to discuss this, and this will be covered in future video series. Thank you. If you enjoyed the video, please do make sure to share it out with folks in your cohort or anybody you think it could be useful to. We're all in this migration journey together. And always remember, if you have any questions, we're here to help, and you know how to get a hold of us.